Welcome back. This is Emma from Blockade Australia. I'm still suspended on a bipod across a rail bridge and river. The rail bridge is the only rail access line to one of the largest ports on this continent. I have been here, I think, for about an hour and a half. This is strategic, targeted, direct action. It's targeting the supply chains and bottlenecks that can materially disrupt the functioning of Australia. Its economic wealth and power and resources are hoarded from the people. This entire system has caused the climate crisis. It's intentional and deliberate and heartless. I'm taking this action because there is not much other choice but to collectively use our power and our bodies to disrupt extractive and exploitative forces. I just dropped out for a bit. You might have seen my previous live stream. It took me a while longer than I thought to ascend the pole with this very heavy lock-on my back, which I've now attached up here, and I will lock onto it when the police get close. I have a banner below me, which you can't really see, but it reads, "Survival needs our resistance." That's because the future survival of people and ecosystems, of any kind of semblance of a healthy, normal life worth living, requires our resistance. Power is not going to be handed back magically from people that benefit really deliberately off the exploitation of people and lands. We have to force this power from them. And collectively we can do that. And it doesn't take, that much or that many people to have a really significant impact. I mean, this port, like I said before, is one of the biggest container ports in so-called Australia. And I'm blocking 28% of its access right now with my body. I'm taking action on the stolen, unceded lands of the Bidjigal people who have been actively resisting colonisation and the destruction of their lands and culture and ecosystems since 1770, when the Empire first landed ashore here and started their mission of destruction, and started killing people and taking whatever they want. And they've continued this pattern to this day. I act in solidarity with the Bidjigal people and their resistance. I want to pay my respects to the elders, past, present and emerging, and thank you for looking after and caring for these lands in the way that you did. And I want to see a world where the amazing knowledge that First Nations people had on caring for this country and living in harmony with it, and when I say country I mean this landmass and hundreds of different countries within this landmass. I want a world where we can listen to that knowledge, and that is why I'm here, attached to a rail line heading into the Port of Botany. The Port of Botany website says that this is an incredibly important pillar for the Australian economy. So here we are for the fourth day in a row, blocking significant amounts of access to the port. Next mobilisation will be on the 27th of June to the 4th of July, and it will be in Sydney. We'll be targeting roads and bottlenecks throughout Sydney to leverage real political power collectively. So just think what we can do when thousands of us all come together in Sydney. If me and a couple of poles and ropes can cut off 28% of the access to this port. It's only got 4 access points, and has 3 container ports and it has a massive fuel depot. It's responsible for almost 100% or like 99 point something percent of like gas and LPG, and someone, apparently Sunrise wants to do a live cross. They said they can only do it to iPhones. I am on an iPhone. I might have to end this live stream briefly, but yeah, media team, I am on an iPhone, so give me a call. We've got, I'll show you what's happening behind me. So this bipod is 2 metal poles tied together at the top. It's attached to the tracks below me. Oh, where are we? There. And then the line from the top of the bipod runs across to the other tracks. There's a significant amount of police rescue. They tried to play an interesting game of fishing with my line. I had my climb line down into the water before, and so they got out a pole and tried to fish it in, and I just reefed it in and pulled it in time, and it's now up here safely with me and my lock on. They've given up standing there with their fishing rod. They did it for a while. Yeah, and so here it's all. They've attached another line to my line at the top of the bipod and attached it to the railing. Like they're kind of going to take the tension with that line, tension with that line. I don't really know how they think they're going to lower this by doing that. I might even just say something to them. You can't lower this by pulling this line. It will topple and the structure will go. You can't cut this line in tension and then just like pull it down. The structure will topple. So I don't know what you think that you're doing there with that, but it's not safe. Okay? You can all go home. You don't have any jurisdiction here anyway. This is the unceded sovereign land of Bidjigal people, and I do not recognize your authority. Do not pull that down. Oh. Alright. We've got a few news crews over there filming, so hopefully they'll keep them a bit accountable. If I have to go suddenly, I'll be doing a brief live cross to Sunrise. Like I said before, media team, I'm on an iPhone, so they can call at any time. And I will be back if that happens. Apologies. So if you're just tuning in, I am on the rail line heading into the Port of Botany. I'm on a bipod. I'm taking strategic and targeted direct action like this with Blockade Australia because it is the only way I see forward to fast, meaningful change of the system that we're in. This civilization that we call it is a complete facade. There's nothing civilized about it. This entire system is exploitative and murderous. It relies on people being in poverty and impoverished. It relies on people being in detention. It relies on people being locked up. It relies on people starving to death. People starve to death every single day. Not because we don't have enough, but because the wealth is intentionally hoarded. And we're running out of time, and it's ridiculous to think that anyone is coming to save you, that any change that's meaningful can be made from within the system. The system is working exactly as it was designed. It was set up this way as a penal colony that came to lands, took whatever they wanted, killed whoever they wanted to exploit and extract money and wealth and resources. So there's no meaningful change that can come from within the system, but collectively we do have a lot of power if we're willing to put some effort in and use our bodies and our time like this. Not gonna lie and say that it is fun or what I want to be doing today, but what I really don't want is our food crops to fail in about 8 years, which scientists are predicting. They're already failing in some places. I really don't want Fiji and the Maldives and the Philippines and Nauru and Samoa and like 50 other places to go underwater like they're expected to by the end of the century. The entire coastline of this continent will be underwater by the end of this century. And that just doesn't leave us any wiggle room. We need to do everything in our power, everything that we possibly can to stop the ecological destruction that is occurring all over the world. I'm also taking this action in solidarity with my friend Arno, who was up a Bipod blocking access by road to the port, one of the container terminals of the Port of Botany. 2 days ago, not yesterday, the day before. He was given relatively minor charges, but this racist government, an oppressive and awful system, has now had their immigration minister step in, revoke his visa, and he is still being held in custody to be deported. He's being deported for speaking out and for acting and for disrupting one of the 3 road accesses to Port of Botany for a few hours. So that's how the system treats people, you know, when they can just get rid of them and their resistance. But I guess they don't know how strong we really are collectively. And humans have always, or for a long time now, endured a lot of suffering, and there are people suffering, starving and in detention all around the world. There are 200 species going extinct every single day, and think of this like the alarm bell for the planet's life support system, because our ecosystems are truly failing around us. And when ecosystems fail, civilization collapses. And I don't mean, you know, fancy, nice luxuries. I mean our hospital systems collapse. I mean our food systems collapse. And people starve to death even more so than now. I mean that more and more people will be having to rebury their loved ones as the sea levels rise, because that's already happening in the Pacific Islands. I mean that disease will kill millions of people. By 2060, there's predicted to be 1.4 billion climate refugees. And what does this government do with refugees? It locks them up in indefinite detention. Do you think it'll do any different with the 1.4 billion people that are deliberately displaced from the environmental destruction of forces that only care about their own power and wealth? There's a really recent example just up the coast from here of many people who have been made climate refugees, who have been killed or flooded out of their homes in the recent massive floods in Lismore, Northern Rivers, and Mianjin, Brisbane. And yeah, take a look what happened there. The government left people high and dry. People were rescuing each other with helicopters and boats, and yeah, any kind of help from the government was not seen until it was really too late, and many more people would have died if the community hadn't come together to act collectively and look out for one another. And so don't expect the government to do any different as the climate crisis worsens and these disasters increase in frequency and intensity. This system does not care about you and me. It doesn't. It was not designed for us. It was designed for the elite and the ruling class. And if you want a world with more equality, where ecosystems aren't destroyed on a whim, where everybody has enough to eat, and we can live like normal human beings, then we all need to do something to make that world happen, because it's been stolen from us. So come to Sydney on June 27 to July 4 and take action with me and hopefully thousands of other people on the streets of Sydney. It is the biggest city on this continent in so-called Australia, and it has major economic bottlenecks. It's a major place where the wealth and power and goods and resources flow through, and so with disrupting it can have a really massive effect on Australia's operation.